Hello, everyone. Go ahead and get your Bibles out, and we'll just take a look at a couple thoughts today. Nothing crazy, but I want to talk about. Is this all good to go up there on the tech side? Okay. God's wisdom versus man's wisdom. Again, nothing new. We know about that. God's wisdom's better. Man's wisdom, not so much. He's smart, we're not. He can see the forest for the trees, we can't. He's got the whole plan, we don't. He knows our life and what's in front of us, and we don't know what's coming down the track. He does. All that stuff we know. I bring it up, though, because just like the children of Israel, we need constant reminding, for one. Number two, it seems to be one of those things that are simple in concept, and not so easy to, I guess, do, for lack of a better word. Let's turn to our core scripture here. Just one verse. Is 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 19. 1 Corinthians 3:19. For the wisdom of this world is foolishness with God, for it is written, He taketh the wise in their own craftiness. And lots of scriptures like that, but the wisdom of this world, the smartest people you can think of are what we would call common sense. Might be found in some areas more than others. Wisdom of this world, things we think we're clever at. We buy books and courses from experts. We have advisors to governments and athletes and everything else, right? Real smart people out there, lots of wisdom going around. After all, mankind has been on this planet for quite some time, and we've come up with a few things. And so the thing to think about here is what keeps coming up, at least in my walk. So I guess I can only speak for myself, but maybe you can find the same thing. We keep coming back to man's wisdom and our own wisdom, kind of both, right? What other people think about and do, and what's common and what's well known out there. We follow that. We know those things. We know those things, and we follow those things. We do those things, and then our own wisdom we might start leaning on a lot. I studied this. I'm smart. I went to school for this. I did this. I did that. I accomplished this. I have experience in that. I've done, I read an article about that, whatever it is. We've got this wisdom that we want to rely on. We want to rely on it. We want to be seen as somebody who's helpful, right? We want to bring things to the table. We want to help other people. We want to give them advice. And we give them advice that we know, which may be our own, which may be that of the world, and so on. And this wisdom is shared, and we desire to have it, and we desire to use it. Take a look at Adam and Eve. How did it all start? This tree is going to give you knowledge. You're going to be like gods, having the knowledge of good and evil. And so we went for it, right? We're designed. It's this knowledge, this power that seems to come with it, that we associate with it. And so we're going to take a look at a couple things today. Just make sure that we stay focused on God's wisdom and God's plans, God's instructions, God's word for how life works or should work for us, our philosophies in life, and so on. Because sometimes the things in the world are a little strong and they pull us in. You look at social media. Go and look at your apps and see which ones you spent the most time on. Pastor Steve doesn't have to participate in this survey. See which one you spend the most time on. I bet it's going to be social media is going to be 80+% of it, right? Your opinions, their opinions. knowledge, quote unquote knowledge, wisdom, being passed around. What's another place you might go to? Google, to search for knowledge. What's the newest technology we're coming out with that we're all proud of? Artificial intelligence. More knowledge, more stuff, right? It's actually faster than Google. You can go and ask it something in plain language and it'll research for you and read all the things for you and summarize it and give it to you. So we get this knowledge. So it is a danger to us, right? It is something that pulls on us. It is something that we see constantly. And if we don't watch it, then we can get pulled into those things and make our decisions based on the world's knowledge, our own knowledge, right? To show how fragile our knowledge really is, I got a couple quotes. One's from Men in Black. Who's seen Men in Black, the movie? Okay. 1997 it came out. Men in Black. And Agent K is the more experienced guy, right? And he had this quote. They just found out his co-star, the new guy on the team, just discovered that there's life on other planets. There's aliens, right? This is a movie. And he has this quote. He says, 1,500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was the center of the universe. 500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was flat. And 15 minutes ago, you knew that humans were alone on this planet. Imagine what you'll know tomorrow. Don't really know much of anything, do we? So that was a quote from the movie. It's a good one. It's always playing around in the back of my head, and I'm like, where did I hear that? What's that from? That's where it's from, Men in Black. All right, another one. This came out of a record I was listening to, and they sample like just older records and include it. So I had to like dig and find out where it actually came from. It's some obscure record recording that was probably educational or something, not musical. But they sampled it, and there's a soundbite, and let's see if this guy, Buckminster Fuller, you know that guy? Oh, never heard of him before myself. A visionary thinker and inventor known for his work on human perception and technological advancement. Anyway, he has this quote that came off of this record that I kept hearing over, and I thought, oh, that's really good too. Which was, until the 20th century, reality was everything humans could touch, smell, see, and hear. Since the initial publication of the chart of the electromagnetic spectrum, the whole range of vision that we can now see through technology, humans have learned that what they can touch, smell, see, and hear is less than 1/millionth, as a fraction, 1/millionth of reality. That's pretty big. I mean, I'm not a math guy or a numbers guy, but 1/millionth, that's pretty small, of actual reality. And I think it's smaller than that too, because they're not talking about spiritual things. And I think it's smaller than that too, because they're only talking about what we can now see with the electromagnetic microscope. More stuff we can see. Well, there's even more than that. And there's even more than that. And that's on the micro level. And then there's the large outer space level. There's just so much we don't know and we can't know. And we're always on a quest to know and try to figure things out and try to solve problems. The question posed here is, why do so many of man's great ideas lead to not so great outcomes? It makes me think of kind of like Australia, and they're trying to solve the animal. We only hear about it and we don't know the details over there for those who've experienced it firsthand. But introduce one animal to take care of another animal and it didn't work, so now you got to introduce another animal and now another one, and you just end up with a mess, right? Trying to fix it. Mankind's trying to fix it all. Mankind's trying to make technology better, and what do we end up doing? Polluting the world and creating weapons of mass destruction. That's what we do with our knowledge. That's man's wisdom. There's another quote from a movie coming to mind. It was something, man always create what they fear, create what they fear. And I'm thinking about that in terms of, the peaceful sort of scientists who contributed to the design of these weapons. That's not why they got into the business. They didn't want to make weapons when they got into it. Maybe even these people working on the AI stuff, that could go bad, I think. Probably will. Most of our other stuff does. It goes bad. So man's wisdom. All right. So our own wisdom, let's keep an eye on the time here. Our own wisdom, when we try to think, I know what I'm doing, I just need, one more shot at this, or I just need another piece of the puzzle, or we're just really, 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 really trying to solve it ourselves, or stick to our own guns, or whatever, not for a scriptural reason or scriptural purpose, but just because it's us. Those kinds of things are usually rooted in pride. And so you don't have to turn to these. I would just read some. Proverbs 14:12. There is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. Look at the Tower of Babel. Now, they built it up because they had the knowledge. They could communicate with each other, and the pride and the vanity within these people at that time said, we want to reach the heavens. We want to reach God. We can be as good as God or enter into heaven just based on our own knowledge and skills and what we can do. And they probably never would have really reached it. But just the thought that they were good enough to do it, and that's what they were going to do, and they didn't need God to be involved in the process at all, didn't make God so happy. So destruction came to that. Scattered was everybody that was on that project. And then we, of course, make a mess of our own designs as well. But that one the Lord didn't like. So the idea here is just to, I guess, examine areas where any of this pride might be leading the way and taking over in our lives. And again, I bring these things up because we could be in the Lord no matter how long, but these things have a strong pull on us. Another scripture, 1 Corinthians 1, verse 21. 1 verse 21 says, for after that, in the wisdom of God, the world by wisdom knew not God. It pleased God by the foolishness of preaching to save them that believe. One that I keep in mind a lot because, I'm in marketing and sales, right? My knowledge set tells me, put out an ad. Do lots of this guerrilla marketing type stuff. Create offers that people opt into and collect email addresses and phone numbers and follow up with them and follow them around with advertising on the internet and send them emails and text messages and all that kind of stuff. Despite people hating all of that, it does work. That's what my wisdom would tell me to do. Preaching go just one person at a time and ring one doorbell and hopefully talk to one person if they even want to talk, or go out on the street and bother people who are in the middle of stuff. I'm busy. I have things to do. I don't have time. They're busy. They don't have time. I'm one-on-one. That's not the smart way to do it, Lord. The smart way would be one to many. Let's just invite everybody into a room. Let's not tell them why they're going to be there. Let's give away free iPads and come to this room and listen to the presentation and you'll get a free iPad. And then, some things that we have ideas for work and the Lord blesses them and they work. But it's the Lord that's going to give the increase. It's never going to be our cleverness or anything like that. And if we're thinking, oh, we're so clever and we're going to do this thing and it's going to work better than all the other things because I'm so clever, well, then it's probably not going to work, because the Lord's not going to let you sail by on that sea of pride for too long before that comes crashing down. So by the foolishness of preaching the gospel, it's just one of the many examples to not let our own wisdom, knowledge, whatever, or the world's wisdom, get in and change how the Lord wants things done. He wants us to preach the gospel because it's our benefit. And that one-on-one connection can't really be denied. Now, personal outreaching, if they're not strangers, even better. That works even better. But it's with this foolishness, so-called, that we get the job done. All right. I'll read James chapter 3. And verse 17, it says, "But the wisdom that is from above is first pure," so God's wisdom is pure, "then peaceable, gentle, easy to be entreated. It's full of mercy and good fruits. It's without partiality and without hypocrisy." That's a lot of things to try to remember and keep in mind at once as I'm saying them. But God's wisdom is those things. Man's wisdom creates division, conflict, and like I said, ultimately won't lead to where we want. Now, people in this world have success. People in this world are smart. They know how to do things and all of that kind of stuff. But as for us, we just don't go by their methodologies, their philosophies, none of that. Because we're in the Lord, and we just go by that set of rules, and we trust in it and rely on it, that is how everything works out for the good. That's how things work out good for us. That's how things work out good for those that we love. By us sticking to and trusting in doing things the Lord's way, using the Lord's wisdom and not our own. Had some other stuff. Old Testament, I'll just reference Solomon was wise. He's known for being wise. Prayed for the Lord's wisdom. He had the Lord's wisdom, and then he kind of tried to see what else the world had to offer, and that was his downfall. But with the Lord's wisdom, one of the stories that we get was well, let's go there, I guess. 1 Kings 3:16. So it says, "Then there came two women that were harlots unto the king, and stood before him. And one woman said, O my lord, I and this woman dwell in one house, and I was delivered of a child with her in the house. And it came to pass the third day after that I was delivered, that this woman was delivered also, and we were together, and there was no stranger, and so it's just us, and we just both had babies. And this woman's child died in the night, because she overlaid it. I don't know. Died. Smothered somehow. Didn't work out. And she arose at midnight and took my son from beside me, while thine handmaid slept, and laid at her bosom, and laid her dead child at my bosom. So she did a swap on me with her dead kid and my still living kid. This is this woman's story. What did the king say about it? Verse 23. Then said the king, verse 24. Then the king said, bring me a sword. And they brought a sword before the king. And the king said, divide the living child in two, and give half to the one and half to the other. It's like, what? Pretty shocking when you first hear about that story. Then spake the woman whose the living child was, and we know that because of what she said, unto the king, for her bowels yearned upon her son. And she said, O my lord, give her the living child, and no wise slay it. But the other woman said, let it be neither mine nor thine, and divide it. So they determined that the one that doesn't want the child to die would be the mother. Anyway, this is the kind of thing. Following the Lord's, he had the Lord's wisdom. So it was famed that Solomon had the Lord's wisdom. And that was an example of it. Let me see, where was I? Okay. Let's finish up in Proverbs 3. We know that the wisdom of the Lord lasts forever, and man's wisdom is always changing. Like we said, what will I know tomorrow? What will be different that society has now decided is good, or society has now decided is bad, or the scientific community has now discovered they were wrong, or whatever it is, right? Or the newscaster comes on and goes, eggs are good for you. And then they come on next week and go, sorry, eggs are bad for you. And then they come in and go, you should eat some chocolate because the antioxidants. And then they come back and go, you actually shouldn't eat chocolate because whatever else. I don't know. It's always changing. But the grass withereth and the flower dieth, but the word of our God shall stand forever. And the Lord's wisdom stands forever. And it's just as true as it was on the day it was spoken and written down, as it is for those disciples who were writing some of these things down, and to us even now. No matter how much people have, changed or think they have changed, and how much the world has changed, and how much we quote unquote know, the Lord's wisdom is better than all of those things. So just a reminder for us, make sure we're checking our motivations all the time, and why we're doing what we're doing, how we're doing what we're doing. Is this how the Lord would have us do these things? And in Proverbs 3, if you're there, verse 5, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, lean not to thine own understanding, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. That's it. I'll leave it there.